Good afternoon, and welcome to the Spiritual Mentor with Julia Knickerbocker on IntellectualRadio.com, where we feed your brain. I want to thank you for joining me this week. I appreciate the opportunity to provide you with an alternative look at spirituality and the energetic self. Be sure to check out our website at thespiritualmentor.org, and please send any questions that you may have to thespiritualmentor@gmail.com. My goal is to provide you, the listeners of IntellectualRadio.com, with information regarding the spiritual presence that is yourself in human form. I will apply this information to your life and then provide you with practical exercises that you can do at home to help yourself heal, feel better, and grow. So for today's subject, I had a few things that I had planned out, but with the incidents that have been going on both this weekend and with the last few weeks, and in general, just a lot of negativity that's taking place in the U.S. especially, I wanted to just bring up a specific point that's in the spiritual community, the people who are the light workers in that, and that's the fact that we are all one. There's nobody who is separate. There's nobody who's different. While we all are individual people, we come from the same spiritual presence. We come down into the spiritual form, into the physical form from a spiritual environment, an energetic environment. And in that space, we are all one. So when you come down into the physical form, even though one person looks one way, one person has a culture that's one way, energetically and spiritually, we are still the same. And so I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do or what you should be doing. I'm just going to simply say, just take a minute and look inside of you and look at the people in your life. And just as you love your family members, just as you enjoy the people that you go around with and talk with and share your life and experiences with, these people are also your energetic family. They're the people that you associate with in a greater sense on the energetic level. But that also includes your next door neighbor who you don't like, and the person across the street that you don't know, and the coworker who drives you crazy because they clip their nails, and the lady at the checkout counter at the grocery store that you don't like because she's always very nasty to you. We need to see that these people are all part of the whole. They're all part of the oneness that is us. Not the human race per se, but on the spiritual level, on the energetic level, we are all the one. And so coming down and putting it into the human form, you can make a difference in your own life by shifting your perspective just a little bit to see that if we all come from the one place and we're all living here together, that maybe you might need to just look at that a little bit differently than looking through a viewpoint of divisiveness, of separateness, of segregation of some kind. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about this week was definitely on a little more of the fun aspect. We had an expo this last weekend, and a lot of people like to go to these expos. This particular one was the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo, and it's supposed to be an expo where people can go and learn more about light community. They can learn more about modalities that can help them, like meditation, energy work like Reiki, various things that are not in the normal sphere of the culture. And so it's usually a great outreach opportunity to be able to help people be in a safe place where they can ask questions. Unfortunately, with expos, most people end up very overwhelmed. They end up very frustrated, overwhelmed. They've paid money to go into a location. And in the end, a lot of them usually end up feeling very cruddy instead of feeling, happy or excited or interested in what they're going to do. One of the things that I wanted to mention to people, especially since I had a few what I call the novices, come to me asking how can they get the most out of their money. They have to pay to go into this event. They were hoping to have an experience that they didn't have. So how can they go into the next one with a better frame of mind, with a better perspective? And I think this is a good question for anybody who is actually looking at delving a little bit deeper into any type of energy work, any type of reading work. There are a number of locations around the Chicago area that offer sessions with practitioners of varying kinds, and there's always classes and free little mini seminars and workshops that you can go to learn more about any particular kind of modality. But usually you're not really thinking about that. You just go, oh, I want to go to the expo this weekend. I feel drawn to it, or it sounds good to go to that. And here is, you are your worst enemy. If you don't have a clue what you're getting into, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to be bombarded not only by a large amount of differentness, because these people are usually very different from normal people, but you're also going to get bombarded with the sales pitches. You're going to hear about everybody's little selling thing for why they want you to have their service or buy their product. And quite honestly, when you get in there, you're going to be surrounded by hundreds of people, which means your auric layers are going to be infiltrated with everybody else's auric layers. And so that means that you're going to be feeling people's feelings. You're going to be picking up the crud that is surrounding them. And what could be a normally fun experience ends up making you feel like you've been slimed because you've picked up somebody's ick that they were carrying with them. And so, first of all, the very first thing that I would always suggest to anybody is, if you are going to go into any environment, whether it's at the mall, whether it is one of the expo environments, whether you're going to the symphony, to a baseball game, wherever you're going to go where there's going to be a significant number of people, please shield yourself. We went through the shielding exercise a couple weeks ago when I was guesting on another radio show. But you can learn how to shield yourself very, very quickly. It's on my website. Just click on spiritualmentor.org and go underneath the resources, and there is a listing for shielding. And you can provide yourself with protection so you're not picking up other people's ick. You've got your own ick. You don't need anybody else's ick. So let's keep our stuff separated. And then when you go in there, you're going to stay a little bit more focused on just you. You're paying money. You want to get the most that you can for this. Stay grounded. And even if you don't understand what that term means, you are aware of your own energetic, emotional state. So if you start feeling emotions that you don't understand why you're feeling, or if you start feeling even physical sensations, at that point you need to take care of yourself and just take a break and go get some air and step back from all of the energies that you're bombarding yourself with. Now, you can do your basic research. You can sit there and you can go online and you can look up the various terms of the different types of practitioners. Most of the expos advertise way ahead of time, and if you sign up for any of the newsletters, you're going to get a list of the practitioners who are attending these sites. You're going to get a list of the services that they provide. Go online, look it up. But the key to all of this is really, really, really knowing what you want. What are you trying to achieve by visiting or having any session with any type of an energy worker? And we've all seen the signs for the corner psychic. And most light workers don't use the word psychic anymore. It used to be very in mode. Before it was the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo, it used to be called, in half a dozen places that I've lived, the Psychic Fair. It just depends, just like any other term in our society, some things become brand new and some things become old hat and you don't use it anymore. And that's kind of the way the term psychic has gone. It's gotten a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths from various online psychics and other psychics who have been arrested and shown to be doing fraudulent practices. So in general, people have stepped away from that term, psychic. We use intuitive now. It's an easier term. It's a more PC-friendly term. Everybody is intuitive because everyone has gifts and everyone has the ability to use their gifts. But it doesn't have that same connotation that psychic has. And so you are going to go into this environment. You are the only person who knows yourself. So you need to know what you're trying to achieve, and you need to do that in very realistic terms, because this is an environment where you're pretty much going to sit down in a chair, you're going to have somebody say something to you for X number of minutes, and then you're going to leave. It's not going to be the same as going to a place like where I work at part-time, which is Journey to Wholeness. It's not like any of the other centers around town where you're going to have that one-on-one time and leave with a more happy, cozy, huggy feeling. So when you're going to these places, the first thing that I like to say, beyond shielding yourself, is when you go up to someone, and let's just say you want to have a reading, and you decide you want to have a reading with this person who is the first in line at the table, just because they're there. I would say stop. You need to respect yourself a little bit more than that. Walk around the environment, look at everybody. Take a moment, don't just glance at them and walk by very quickly. I'm saying stop and look at you. Look at that person and give yourself a moment to feel. When you look at somebody and you feel their energy, because if you're standing 10 feet away from somebody, your energy is intermingling with theirs. You're going to have a gut reaction. Do you like that person? Do you not like that person? Anything at all. That for each of the practitioners before you ever settle on having a session with anybody. And that includes if you go to a center. It includes if you go to a retreat. It doesn't matter where you're going. You are placing your trust in an individual. And even if it is for only 15 minutes, you don't want them energetically interacting with you if you don't feel a very positive connection with that person. And then you base it off of what are you looking for? Are you wanting a reading so that you can have guidance? You have an issue. Are you wanting to have a session with somebody because you want to learn a technique? Are you wanting to learn an overall energy modality that you can take back and you can go home and you can help yourself? Are you wanting to develop your spirituality, your gifts? Every human is born with gifts. They're not all the same gifts. Some people have stronger gifts than others. Some people have the e-ticket gifts. But everybody's gifts are unique to who they are. They're unique to their blueprint. And so a lot of times people go to these places looking to find a teacher, looking to find somebody who can help them develop their gifts and educate them on what they can expect or how to develop their gifts so that they can then grow and help somebody else. Everybody's got their own personal motivations as to why they want to develop their gifts, but only you can determine what it is that you're looking for, and that then is going to feed out into your energy, and it's going to bring that perfect teacher to you. Don't forget, though, when you're saying that phrase, I want the perfect teacher for me, that means that you're going to have an experience with that person that's going to be perfect for your highest and best good, which means that's going to bring a learning experience into your life. Just, oh, this is happy, wonderful. It's going to be whatever experience that you need, which includes the negative and the positive overall, to allow you to grow, allow you to learn, allow you actually heal and grow and maybe teach somebody else. It's a learning process. It's a continual process. It isn't just a one-stop destination. So always, always, always follow your intuition on these events. If somebody comes up to you and you don't want to talk to them, please don't talk to them. I mean, don't be rude, don't be ugly, but I mean, honor yourself. When you honor yourself, be kind while you're honoring yourself, but it doesn't mean that you have to touch anyone. It doesn't mean that you have to interact with anyone. And it also allows them the opportunity to then go and find that person who they need to reach out to that is compatible energetically with them. This way, it's a win-win with both people. If you have a session with somebody, you're not feeling it or you're feeling really negative, you're not going to be open to them. You're not going to be receptive to everything that could come into your life from whatever message. And you're also going to prevent a message from coming to you that would be helpful to you because you're putting up an automatic block. 9 times out of 10, if I have a session with somebody and it's an unpleasant session, and unpleasant for me means that I have to struggle a little bit. I have to get them to tell me what they truly want. That's because they're really not feeling a connection with me. They're there because they heard about me, somebody talked me up. They're not really feeling like I'm the person to help them. And so they've put a wall up between us. And I have the ability to reach out and talk to your guides. I can talk to your higher self. I can talk to your guides. I can talk to your angels. I can talk to anybody and the energetic level about you, for you, to get information for you. But if you're blocked to me, that makes it difficult because you don't really want the information to come from me. You're wanting something and I'm not giving it to you. And it's better at that point to just say, hey, I'm not feeling it. And that way neither of us have to continue with having a negative feeling. And that's okay, because when you think you're going to get something, you think that you're going to have a particular kind of experience, you think that something magical is going to happen, and it doesn't always happen that way. I've encountered a lot of people who, over the years, they get this idea in their head. They get this idea in their head that if somebody is an intuitive, they're warm and fuzzy and they're cuddly and they're going to give them all the love and all of the information that they need, and they're going to walk away because a fairy magic wand is waved over them and it's changed their whole life. And yet when they get up from the session, they may have received information, they may have received an energy input, but they're still the person that they are. There's been no magic fairy wand, because that doesn't happen in our reality. The reality of the way we live is we each have our free will. And when we make our free will choices, that's what takes us on our path, whether it's the path to more learning, it's a path to growth, path to healing, path to our spiritual development. It doesn't matter. We're the only ones who are guiding our life by our free will. But the point of this is when you make a choice and you're stuck sitting in front of somebody and you're not feeling that connection, then you are wasting not only your money, but you're wasting your time. You're wasting moments of your life and possibly missing an opportunity to connect with somebody else who may or may not be there. One of the things that I do when I go into locations like an expo, if I don't know somebody offhand that I'm going to meet there, or if I don't know what my purpose is there, but I feel like I need to be there, I step to the side and I create a space around myself and I ask, where do I need to go? If I have the map of the layout, that's great. That makes it easier. Otherwise, I ask for a direction and I say, is there somebody to the right of me that I need to go see? Do I need to go in front of me? Is there somebody down that way? Is there somebody to the left? Where do I need to go? And this works for me regardless of whether it's somebody that I'm supposed to meet, if it's a book I need to buy, if it's a crystal that needs to come home with me. It sounds silly, but everything has an energetic principle. And that vibration that runs through them energetically is going to pull to you because you have a corresponding energetic vibration. And our higher selves happen to navigate us a lot of times. They facilitate situations for us. So when you go somewhere and you encounter somebody and you have a reaction to that person, whether it's a negative reaction or a positive reaction, there's a reason for that encounter. If you encounter somebody and you're not feeling anything, then there's no reason to continue that encounter. But when we have encounters, whether they're positive or negative, it's because our higher self has helped to facilitate our meeting that individual. And when you go to places like the expo, you're meeting up with various people who are looking just like you. They're people who are questioning the normal conventional world that you live in. They're people who are open to different ideas. They're people who have maybe taken steps a little bit further than where you've gone and who might be able to answer questions for you. And so a lot of times what you're looking for is you're actually projecting your needs out onto people. So when you isolate what it is exactly you're wanting to gain from any kind of event like this, it's going to help you narrow that energetic focus and bring somebody in. Now, we have all kinds of different practitioners that are out there in the energetic community. You got your light workers, you've got people who specifically look for doing readings, you've got people who do healing work, you've got people who are wanting to help you narrow down your field of vision and to determine if you are wanting to develop your gifts or if you're wanting to grow spiritually. And all of these things have different pathways that they can all blend together and work together. But a lot of it, your success is going to depend on your personal blueprint and where you are and where you've been and how you were designed. And so a lot of times when you go to these events, you have this immense anticipation, this excitement, and you're hoping to find that answer to the meaning of your life when the meaning of your life answers inside of you. And so a lot of times a proper person who's going to help facilitate you isn't going to tell you this is what your life meaning is. They're going to help you draw out that life meaning. And so, again, this isn't the best environment. An expo, a place like that where you got people milling around, you're not having a real private environment, you're being bombarded with everybody's emotional states, energetic states. A lot of times it's just really best to meet and greet a lot of people. I have a list that I created a while back that is literally, it's called Questions to Ask when selecting a mentor for energy work, and that's actually posted on my website as well. And feel free to go ahead and look at the website for other ideas to help you on your quest for learning things. But the reality is you are the only person who can do this. And so when you look at these questions, if you've never done any kind of energy work before, if you've never done anything specific, the questions may seem a little weird. The terms might not really make any sense to you, but read through them and understand what the point is. Because when you are bringing somebody into your life to teach you, to work with you one-on-one, you end up getting, it's a very intimate basis where they're going to get a whole lot of your life in a lump sum. And if you are not careful about selecting that person, it's just like going to a psychologist that you don't feel comfortable with, because a lot of the things that you need help with are personal things. They're private things. And that's why really overall, the number one gut reaction of this is who I need to meet with is going to hold more precedence than this person's got all these certificates that their brochure says that they're really great. I had an episode, a session, I guess you could say, a number of years ago when I was living in Raleigh. I went to the expo there, and I was just wandering around. I knew most of the local people who were there, and I'd already seen the booths half a dozen times from the other expos because a lot of these people are repeat vendors. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I was looking for something different, and I didn't know what I was looking for. And I came around a corner, and I literally hit a wall. I could not move forward if my life had depended on it, and I just stopped. And I looked over to my right, which is where the table was, and there was a woman sitting there, and there were a number of little crystal clusters on the table. And they were, you know, that's always my number one thing, is if there's a crystal on the table, I'm going to stop and look at it. But the crystals held nothing for me. It was the woman. And she looked at me, and she's like, wow, you stopped? And I said, yes, I had some help. I need to talk to you. I said, I'm not sure why. I don't even know who you are or what you do, but I need to have a moment of your time, apparently. And so she was an astrologist. And so she had an opening in her slot very conveniently for that moment. And we ended up sitting down and having a session. And it was very interesting. She had a very different view take. I'd never had astrology approached to me in the manner that she did it. And it was a really good session because Previously, I'd had a very bad session with somebody with astrology, and I had been put off with it. But this woman was able to just connect with me in that moment, and it was where I needed to be. These things happen. Synchronicity is a term that people like to throw out there when you meet somebody at that moment, at the right time, at the right place. And I don't view it as synchronicity. I just view it as the higher self in motion. The higher self puts all kinds of things into motion to get you where you need to be, to meet the people that you need to meet. And circumstances are going to make it happen. There's a phrase, you're going to get there at the right time. And as some people have encountered, you get there at the right time. It doesn't matter if you leave 15 minutes early. If you're meant to be there 15 minutes late, you're going to get there 15 minutes late, because that's the time that you're supposed to be there. There's a reason for it. When you accept that principle, it relieves a lot of stress, because then you're just like, well, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to leave at the time that I'm supposed to leave. But if I get there late, it's because it's supposed to be there. I left once. I went to, years ago, I was hired by a retreat center to come and do massage sessions, because I did massage at that time, but to do massage and channeling sessions for their clients on a Saturday. And where I used to live, it would have taken me 2 hours to get there, because they were way out. And so I left to give myself about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I got there in less than an hour and a half. I showed up, and the husband of the woman who was running the retreat looked at me, and I looked at him and I said, I got here really fast today. I said, I'm really not sure why. And he just looked at me, and we had a conversation. And I realized in that moment that he was the reason I got there early. If I had gotten there at the time that I was supposed to, I would never have had the opportunity to talk with him. And he brought to my attention a point of view that I needed to understand. And so it all flowed. It all worked very, very well. When you go into places and you are in a receptive state of mind, and you allow yourself to be drawn to the person or the thing that you need to see, then you're going to get there. You're going to encounter it. Nobody else is going to buy it before you get there, because it's going to have your vibration. Those are the things, these principles that you learn to trust in when you start having these encounters, when you start doing these types of things. Now, one of the things that I hear 99.9% of the time is how do I learn to trust myself? How do I trust that the experience that I'm having is real? How do I know that I'm not just imagining it? And it's like, well, that takes practice. It's one of those things that very few people actually instantly know 100% is truth. You have to repeat it, just like a science experiment. You do it in different ways. How do you help yourself? You do something where it repeats a similar type of environment experience so that you can have that confirmation. You're validating your experience by having it again and again, whether you're standing in front of your closet wanting to know what you're going to wear, and you trust that you're guided to wear what you need to wear, or whether you're trusting that you're going where you need to go or meet somebody that you need to meet. By creating an opportunity for reinforcement, you're going to get there. So one of the things that I wanted to share today is a little exercise that everybody can do. And this is an exercise you can do anywhere, at any time, in less than a minute. And it is something that's going to help you with an energetic emotional release. One of the things that we all do as humans is sit there and we get uptight. We get stressed out. We're over emotional. And not only that, we bottle it all up inside. And that impacts us energetically. That impacts us so that we get clogged. We don't function well anymore. And then you start to not trust yourself. You start to wonder if your emotions are really becoming overwhelming, if they're really becoming muddled so that you're not clear and you don't understand who you are. And This happens especially with intuition, when you are trying to understand yourself. So what I want you to do is just sit still for a moment. I want you to just sit there, and we're going to use your hands for this exercise. Now, there's a practice out there that's called kinesiology, and kinesiology works with the body's energy. And kinesiology is a really, really fun modality when you start to look into it. But this exercise is based off of kinesiology, and it's learning how to balance your emotional energy that's in your body. Now, when you look at your hands, and this can take place with either hand, doesn't have to be one or the other. There's no significance using the right or the left for this exercise. But what this is it's a practice where you're going to be holding on to each of your fingers with one hand. So you're going to hold your hand, well, take your one hand and wrap your hand around your thumb. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that your thumb is in the middle of your palm, and you're wrapping the other fingers of the hand around it so that your thumb is encased. And I want you to just squeeze it very gently but firmly. You want to make sure your finger's not going to fall out. Close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to breathe in. And as you breathe out, you're just going to say, I'm releasing my tears, my grief, any emotional pain, because your thumb represents tears and grief and emotional pain. So you're just going to hold this finger, this thumb, for about 30 seconds to a full minute. Every time you breathe in, you're going to breathe in the idea of peace and comfort and love filling you. And when you breathe out, you just say, I'm releasing tears, grief, and emotional pain I've got bottled up inside of me. And you breathe in that love and that comforting energy. And you breathe out those negative emotions that are bottled up inside of you. And you just do this very slowly, very easily. You can be at the dinner table doing this. You can do this sitting at a meeting. It doesn't matter where you're at, because nobody's going to see you doing anything but holding your hand. It's nothing freaky. It's very discreet. But when you allow yourself to release those emotions that are pent up on the physical level, that creates a release throughout your energetic fields. I like to say to do this in meetings because I lived in the corporate environment for close to 30 years, and I was in plenty of meetings. Were very frustrating. They were very draining. They were very irritating, and I could leave a meeting in any number of emotional states. When you hold your index finger, that's the index finger representing fear. Fear of anything. It doesn't have to be fear of anything specific. I could have used this afternoon when the spider fell on me in the shower. I didn't think about it, but I'm going to hold that one now. And as I breathe in, I'm going to breathe in the vibration of courage. Breathe in the vibration of strength, of being, of confidence. And I breathe out fear. I release that fear. So you breathe in courage, you breathe in fortitude, you breathe in a vibration, and you release the fear that you feel holding you back. Is it a fear of money? A fear of lack? Is it a fear of people? Is it a fear of a situation? Is it a fear of the unknown? Everybody who's walking around today has some kind of fear, and that fear is bottled up. And so when you're holding that index finger, that allows your body to release that fear. And you breathe in light. You breathe in a vibration that's better for you. If you hold on to the middle finger, the middle finger is my favorite one, it's anger and rage. And how many times do you experience that? I mean, you're driving on the freeway and you come to a stop and you're just sitting there, and you go places and you encounter people who are ugly. I mean, our whole country at this point in time, after what's happened in the last, well, I'm not even just going to say over a year now. I mean, it's just been event after event after event. And whether it's because you are a particular religion, or you belong to culture, or your particular sexual orientation, or you just are anything, People, if you're a woman, you can't walk down the street without having some level of fear. If you're a young kid, you can't go down the street without having a level of fear. You can't go places without being afraid that somebody is going to accost you. And so these are vibrations stuck in your energy field that you can simply release and allow the process to start for healing by just holding on to that middle finger. Just holding on to that middle finger, breathing out all your anger and rage, and breathing in the light of compassion, breathing in the idea of love, breathing in possibly creative passion to change that energy, that's anger, into something that's useful, that's going to help you. Now, if you shift over to the ring finger, this is where anxiety lives. Anxiety, nervousness, sort of that twist on anticipation. When you think anticipation is there, and in fact it's actually anxiety because you're dreading what could possibly happen, or worrying. Worry is something that's often misunderstood, but it's there in the physical, manifesting in a variety of ways. If you have an upset stomach, if you're having issues with your digestive tracts, you are embracing anxiety and embracing those aspects of it without releasing it. So by holding on to that ring finger, you can breathe in peace, calm, safety, security, and just release the anxiety and the nervousness. When you breathe in, expand your diaphragm, breathe through your stomach. Allow yourself to take as long of a breath as possible. So that when you breathe out as long as possible. Now, when we shift over to the little finger, that's your self-esteem. Everybody has a certain amount of self-esteem, and sometimes they have a lot more lack of self-esteem. But when your self-esteem is not flowing in a healthy way, then you can exhibit that in a lot of negative ways. So it's always good to release any of that lack of self-esteem that you're experiencing, whether it's because you want to try something new and you're holding yourself back, you don't feel that you're worthy, and yet you are. These various conflicts exist on the physical level and will eventually manifest in the physical level. So when you hold your little finger and you breathe out, you want to breathe out that lack of self-esteem. And you want to breathe in appreciation for yourself, appreciation for who you are. You want to improve your self-worth. So these are the ideas that you're going to use when you breathe these in. And again, I'm going to run through this real quick. Your thumb is for grief, tears, emotional pain that you have locked inside of you. Your index finger is fear. Your middle finger is anger, rage, frustration. Your ring finger is anxiety and nervousness. And your little finger is self-esteem. These are all negative emotions we carry around with us, and they impact us in a negative way. By releasing these negative energies and you allow positive energy to flow into you, it creates a stronger basis for you to learn to trust yourself. Not only are you releasing things, emotions, and ideas that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that you can't get a hold of this, but you're breathing in the vibration, but it also helps you take that step towards being receptive. Events that happen in your life happen for a reason, and if you allow yourself to be receptive to how they happen, you can take that and grow. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful session for me. I want to thank you for joining me. I really appreciate this opportunity of sharing this time with you. And I wanted to say I'm going to be here on Mondays at 4 p.m. Central If you have any questions that you want to address to me so that I can bring them up and answer them, or maybe build a topic off of them, please send them to me. My email address is thespiritualmentor@gmail.com. The exercise that we just went through very quickly, the questions to ask when selecting a mentor or a practitioner for energy work, these are listed on my website as well, and that's thespiritualmentor.org. And I just want to thank you for being here with me on IntellectualRadio.com, where we feed your brain. Thank you, and have a blessed